हरे कृष्ण मज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. We'll continue our discussion on purports of Srila Prabhupada. We are in the fourth chapter. We are in verse number text 3. We'll not take shlokas today as such. It is our shloka day, but because we are already it's already 8:30. We have only 45 minutes. Well, tomorrow we'll try to. This fourth chapter we discuss it. It has only two sections. It's a very simple chapter. One is glorification of the speaker and hearer, and then second part will be, because this is a very important aspect that we need to know about the speaker and the hearer. By knowing it, we'll understand the value of Bhagavatam also. That is how it is explained. And this is the first section, and the second section will be about Srimad. Of course, this is about Srimad Bhagavatam only, and second is about Vyasadeva. So in second section they ask four more questions basically. So first time when it was spoken, and what did the inspiration come from, which place, what reason, like that. So we'll see the questions. So first we'll just here in the here in the last two shlokas, they were asking two questions. Actually, Vyas Maharshi is telling that how Sanakad Rishis, they are congratulating Sutta Goswami, and they wanted to know it further. And Sanakad Rishis, they are telling that you are the most fortunate, respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the first time he's asking the question. Now here, one important word is Suta Suta Mahabhaga. So he's repeating two times. And Mahabhaga is this word. Bhagavan will be used for many personalities in Bhagavatam. Bhagavan, we know that it is used for Supreme Lord. In the Vishnu Puran, we know the definition of Bhagavan. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya shriya jnana vairagyasya shannoita bhagavata. So this is the one definition. But in same Padma Puran, there is another definition of Bhagavan that is also very important for us to understand. Ayatim nayatim chaiva bhutanam agatim gatim vetim vidya avidyam cha sarvacha bhagavan iti. Now this is very important. What this definition is telling is that one who knows ayatim nyatim chaiva, that means what is good and what is bad for a person, and bhutanam agatim gatim, one who knows the goal of the living entities depending on how to live, and vetim vidyam cha avidyam cha, one who knows the knowledge and ignorance both. That means three things: sambandha, abhideya, and prayojan. If he knows knowledge and ignorance, means sambandha jnana. What is right, what is wrong is in terms of abhideya practices. And what is the goal? So if somebody knows sambandha, abhideya, bhagavan, sambandha, abhideya, and prayojan also properly, he is also called bhagavan. Like and there are this next he asks this question. Just read the shlokas. The third one. Kasmin yuge Eyam sat sthane vakena hetuna kuta sanchodita Krishna kritavan samhitamuni. In what period and at what place was this first began, and why was it taken up? From where did Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, the great sage, get the inspiration to complete this literature? So these are the questions they are asking. They want to know time, they want to know the place, when it happened first time, and why did it appear? What is the inspiration? And this continues with next. And then there are questions by Parikshit Maharaj to Sukadeva Goswami, which tells about all the 10 topics of Bhagavatam, like that. So Sukadeva Goswami is going to answer Parikshit Maharaj's question. Bhagavatam is basically it's a dialogue between two people, discussion. Now this is also a very important understanding. Bhagavatam basically is a discussion, and that's why both the people who are discussing should be very much qualified, hearer and speaker. And that this first chapter, that's why we are. And here the glorification of the narrator and the listener both are given, so it's an indirect glorification of Bhagavatam, because their qualification shows what type of discussions they will do. Say if two big people are coming, two big leaders of a country are coming, they will not just discuss some film or sports. They have some very serious discussion about the whole country. Then the both countries will be curious to know what decision they made, what will be the bilateral relationship, trade, and other things. So that means that level of people, the discussions will also be of that caliber. So here, that's why this qualification of speaker and hearer is given. So we'll understand what Bhagavatam is by understanding them, because it can only happen between qualified narrator and qualified listener, like that. And Bhagavatam is not simply the transmission of knowledge or information. It is transmission of revelations. It is revealed to Sukadeva Goswami. That's what he is speaking. And for the revelation to happen, and God, then Krishna is going to appear in that conversation. So they are of both high quality. And then here it is discussed how Vyasadeva mm, he, he gained this mercy, because he is here we are seeing that Vyasadeva is speaking, and this is the process of mercy. By through mercy only we can understand this, like that. So we'll just read. Because Srimad Bhagavatam's special contribution of Srila Vyasadeva, there are so many inquiries by the learned Saunaka Muni. It was known to him that Srila Vyasadeva has already explained the text of Vedas in various ways up to the Mahabharata for the understanding of less intelligent women, Shudras, and fallen members of the families of twice born. Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental to all of them because it has nothing to do with anything mundane. So the inquiries are very intelligent and relevant, like that. So when these things are mentioned, women, Shudra, and fallen members, previous ages there was some difference. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and there was difference in women. But Kali Yuga is so mixed up. You don't find any discrimination. All are hello Shudra Sambhava. Everybody comes under same category. So it should not be taken that why Prabhupada is addressing only some people like that. He is having discrimination. No, it is he is telling for all of us who are Kali Yuga Jivas. So then they are going to ask about Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit. Tasya putro mahayogi sama nirval kalpika ekantamatir unnitro gudo moda iveyate. This is also an important question. His Vyasadev's son was a great devotee and equibalanced monist whose mind was always concentrated in monism. He was transcendental to mundane activities, but being unexposed, he appeared like an ignorant person. Now, this is the glorification about Sukadeva Goswami, who is the speaker. Srila Sukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul, and thus he remained. See, that's how Bhagavatam appeared. Because that great liberated person spoke. Vyasdev could not write before that. Vyasdev did not write. Because Sukadeva Goswami revealed it. He made it more sweet, more very organized, systematic. Was a liberated soul, and thus he remained always alert, not to be trapped by the illusory energy. In the Bhagavad Gita, his alertness is very lucidly explained. The liberated soul and the conditioned soul have different engagements. The liberated soul is always engaged in the progressive path of spiritual attainment, which is sometimes like a dream for the conditioned soul. Conditioned soul cannot imagine the actual engagement of the liberated soul. While the conditioned soul dreams about spiritual engagements, the liberated soul is awake. Similarly, the engagement of a conditioned soul appears to be a dream for the liberated soul. A conditioned soul and liberated soul may apparently be on the same platform, but factually they're differently engaged and their attention is always alert, either in sense enjoyment or in self-realization respectively. Conditioned soul is absorbed in matter, whereas the liberated soul is completely indifferent to matter. This indifference is explained as follows. So here, this is a small revision. I'll give 5 minutes on Bhagavad Gita. But this is a very important point. Of course, even Arjuna asked the same questions. The Pragyasya ka bhasha tamadistasya keshava. Dirkam pramasita kimasita rajeta kim. Now, there are some fundamental primary qualities and then there are secondary qualities. The fundamental qualities is he has given up the all desire to enjoy. He's renounced the desire to enjoy. Second is he is finding satisfaction within. Prajati yada kama sarvan bhaktamanavatan atmanyavatmanatushta. He is getting satisfaction within. That is very important. But only thing is Prabhupada is saying we cannot see any difference. They look same, but one is internally experiencing. Now, what is this internally experiencing happiness? That is also because most of the time we find our happiness outside, and if we are trying to find happiness inside, that means intelligence is very peaceful, mind is very peaceful. That's actually what happens if a person is and mind becomes completely calm and it stop looking for happiness outside, which is not so easy. And it is very important to understand that the point is not to get rid or suppress desires. The state is like, say, now any of our we are giving some toys of children play. They will not be interested. Not that we hate them, or we even don't like. We are indifferent. This person is indifferent. He is completely, he got the realization that my happiness does not depend on fulfilling my desires. This is what is difficult for us to digest many times. That even my desire is not fulfilled is not going to make any difference for us. We'll remain like that and we can be okay. But we think, oh, if my desire is not fulfilled, I'll be very unhappy. No, it's not like that. And that means this person has trained his intelligence in certain way. He has programmed and to look inside, not outside. Another thing is we have to make our mind, train our mind Generally, most of the people train it to be unhappy, to train in happiness. How? Because the mind is manas is made with manas is all this chitta buddhi, they're made in with mode of goodness. So when we remain peaceful, we can experience so much of happiness. That's how it is. uh, we have to again bring it to peace. Presently people think agitation is happiness. No, no, not like that. Maybe some other time we'll discuss more once. This is the example that Sankadrash is giving about Sukadeva Goswami. That means they already know his glories. While Sri Vyasadeva was following his son, beautiful young damsels who were bathing naked covered their bodies with clothes, although Sri Vyasadeva himself was not naked, but they had not done so when his son has passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified, and when looking at them, made no distinction between male and female, but the sage made such distinction. I will just read Prabhupada's purport and discuss on this. Very nice, important shloka to understand how this happens. In the Bhagavad Gita 5.18, it is said that the learned sage looks equally on a learned and gentle Brahmana, a Chandala, dog eater, a dog, or a cow due to his spiritual vision. Sukadeva Goswami attained that stage. Thus, did not see a male or female. He saw all living entities in different dresses. The ladies who were bathing could understand the mind of a man simply by studying his demeanor, just as by looking at a child one can understand how innocent he is. This is Vedic psychology. Vedic time people just by seeing the face they can understand. This is one of the arts Krishna learns in Sandipan in his ashram also. This is also there where people can see the face, they can tell what state he is, what he is thinking. They had that talent. So here the Apsaras, the heavenly dance they had. So there Goswami was a young boy, 16 years old, and therefore all the parts of his body were developed. He was naked also, and so were the ladies. But because Sukadeva Goswami was transcendental to sex relation, the way he looked at them was very innocent and had nothing to do with worldly affairs. The ladies, by their special qualification, could sense this at once, and therefore they were not very concerned about him. But when his father passed, the ladies quickly dressed. Srila Vyasdev was an old man and was fully dressed, and the ladies were exactly like his children or grandchildren. Yet they reacted to his presence according to the social custom because he played the part of a householder. Vyasdev is directly Krishna's incarnation, but he's playing that part, so they went according to the custom. A householder has to distinguish between a male and female. Otherwise, he cannot be a householder. Should therefore attempt to know. This is the cause of envy. In next canto, the first chapter, so the Goswami starts speaking about. He starts speaking. Then he says, Nidra hiyate naktam vyavayena chavavaya dhiya chartihaya raja kutumba bharanena va. The householders actually, but proper translate, the envious householders, even though the word envy is not there, because when you distinguish, if you say this is mine, this is his, immediately will have envy. If you see that, then what happens? I want to have my things better. I should have my own things better. My house should be little bigger than them. My car should be little bigger than the neighbors. That envy automatically appears in the heart when you do the distinguish. That is why it becomes little difficult. Slowly, slowly, that is the reason grahasthas are told you have to give charity. Because he will get that the pain comes, they will start thinking why I should give. Then he will, when he will get, oh, because it's not mine, it's all Krishna's. Then we'll be free from envy. Then Bhagavatam is that's why Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam. To understand Bhagavatam, we should be free from envy. And envy is because we say it is mine and theirs. Immediately envy comes. When we understand it's all Krishna's, When we'll get that relation? When we start giving charity. They're giving, then we understand, yes, it's all Krishna's. And there are many philosophies. They say Krishna gave me, let me enjoy. Why I should give to others? No, Krishna is telling yajna, sacrifice means we have to give. Anyway, that was not topic, but this word came, so I'm just elaborating that. One should, because a householder has to do this. That's what the point is. One should therefore attempt to know the distinction between body and soul without any attachment for male and female. As long as such attachment is there, one should not try to become a sannyasi like Sukadeva Goswami. At least theoretically, one must be convinced that a living entity is neither male nor female. The outward dress is made of matter by material nature to attract the opposite sex and thus keep one entangled in material existence. So this is the purpose of creating male and female. And of course, that is also the system Lord created complete. Oh, Purnamada, Purnamada, Lord makes everything complete. He need not look back and see how things are going on. Because he made a system like that. First, he created five things. First, he creates sound, and then he creates eyes, ears, nose. Maybe one day, maybe future sections, I will tell why he created each part. And of all the things, he also created a wife, and then he did not create anything further. It automatically happens. Wife and husband are there. That's, and that is how one is entangled in material world. A liberated soul is above this perverted distinction. He does not distinguish between one living being and another. For him, they are all one and the same spirit. The perfection of the spiritual vision is the liberated stage, and Srila Sudhir Goswami attained that stage. Srila Vyasdev was also in the transcendental stage. See, but because he was a household, he was in the householder life, he did not pretend to be liberated as a matter of custom. Please, anybody has any questions, comments till now? We'll go ahead. कथम् आक्लिष्टपौरैः सम्प्राप्तः कुरु जङ्गलान् उन्मत्तमुखजडवत् विचरन् जगशावये. Jajashavaye is Hastinam. Oh, Gajashavaye, sorry. Gajashavaye. Gaja is elephant. How was he, Srila Sudhir Goswami, the son of Vyasa, recognized by the citizens when he entered the city of Hastinapur, now New Delhi, after wandering in provinces of Kuru and Jangala, appearing like a madman, dumb and retrieved. Purport. The present city of Delhi was formerly known as Hastinapur because it was first established by King Hasti. Goswami Sukadev, after leaving his parental home, was roaming like madman, and therefore it was very difficult for the citizens to recognize him in his exalted position. A great sage is not therefore recognized by the sight but by hearing. One should approach a sadhu or a great sage not to see but to hear. But is not prepared to hear the words of sadhu, there is no profit. Sudhir Goswami was a sadhu who could speak on the transcendental activities of the Lord. He did not satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. He was recognized when he spoke on the subject of Bhagavatam, and he never attempted jugglery like a magician. Outwardly, he appeared to be a dumb man, but in fact, he was the most exalted transcendental personality. How did he? How did so happen that now they glorified the speaker. They ask about Parikshit Maharaj story also. How did it so happen that King Parikshit met this great sage, making it possible for this great transcendental essence of Vedas, Bhagavatam, to be sung to him? Srimad Bhagavatam is stated here as the essence of the Vedas. It is not an imaginary story as it is sometimes considered by unauthorized men. It is also called Sukha Samhita or the Vedic hymn spoken by Srila Sudhir Goswami, the great liberated sage. This is again and again the same, some points are repeated so that it goes into the system. And this is another glorification of Sukadeva Goswami. It is Sago Dohanam Matram Hi Griheshu Gruhamedina. So Sukadeva Goswami, how much time is to stay in anybody's house? As long as they used to milk the cow. And Prabhupada writes that it was anybody is able to give some milk to a saintly person. That was easy for them. Now it is not so easy. Samhita na Samhita means Sam means total, Hita means benefit. So Samhitas are the Srimad Bhagavatam is called Sukha Samhita because it is spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. But the word Samhita means it is complete good, which gives complete good. So they are the part of Vedas also have Samhitas, but Bhagavatam is with the Purana like that. So it is Samhita. And Sukadeva Goswami is accustomed to stay at the door of household. Now they wanted to know how did he possible for him to do this activity? How did it happen that about Sukadeva Goswami? They asked is that uh, how was he recognized? So that is their question. Because he is just Avadhutam. Who can recognize him? How did they recognize? And why did Parikshit Maharaj he met with this great sage? What circumstances made him to meet him? And then that also inspired Sukadeva Goswami to speak. And then they said this Sukadeva Goswami hardly stays 10 minutes, 20 minutes in somebody's house. That also not for going and drinking milk. That is also to enlighten all this Grahamedis. That's what it and is accustomed to staying at the door of a householder only long enough for a cow to be milked. And it does not do, and he does this just to sanctify the residence. That's all. Nothing for his personal gain. Don't need. He's already Atmana. Sudeva Goswami met Emperor Parikshit and explained the text of Srimad Bhagavatam. He was not accustomed to staying at any householder's residence for more than half an hour at the time of milking the cow. And he would just take alms for the fortunate householders. This was to sanctify the residence by his auspicious presence. Therefore, Sudev Goswami is an ideal preacher established in transcendental position. From his activities, those who are in renounced order of life and dedicated to the mission of preaching the message of Godhead should learn that they have no business with householders save and except to enlighten them in transcendental knowledge. Such asking for alms from householders should be for the purpose of sanctifying his home. One who is in the renounced of life should not be allured by the glamour of the householder's worldly possessions and thus become subservient to worldly men. For one who is in the renounced order of life, this is much more dangerous than drinking poison and committing suicide. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not ready to meet King Prataparudra. He never met, after sannyas, he never met any women only. They used to offer obeisances from far distance. And this is why it is detrimental. What happens is, even renounced person is in renounced order, how you want to get something higher. If he goes to some grahastha's house, especially rich people, for donations and all, there is every possibility that he will develop desires in the heart. Maya is so powerful. At any level, a person can fall. You should be very careful. That's why you should not get allured with the opulences that are possessed by it. And we should be extremely careful. Only Prabhupada could survive America and he could preach and come out very safely. Nobody can do like that. And now, whoever is going, it's all Prabhupada's mercy they are able to do. Otherwise, Prabhupada's God brothers, they could not do it only. And many other organizations, people go to America and after a few years of staying, they get married and continue to live there. That is how it happens. Now, they're again asking you to Parikshit Sukadeva Goswami Thakur. Abhimanyu sutam suta prahur bhagavatottama tasya janma mahascharyam karmani cha grihi. It is said that Maharaj Parikshit is a great first class devotee of Lord, and thus his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. Now they want to know the whole story. They asked, how did he meet? And they said, also heard that his activities and all are very powerful. And they also say that this is what we heard, and is Bhagavatottama. We want to know about both his birth and activities. The birth of Maharaj Parikshit is wonderful because in the womb of his mother, he was protected by the personality of God, Sri Krishna. His activities are also wonderful because he chastised Kali, who was attempting to kill a cow. To kill a cow means to end human civilization. He wanted to protect cow from being killed, the great representative of sin. His death is also wonderful because he got previous notice of his death, which is wonderful for any mortal, and thus he prepared himself for passing away by sitting down on the banks of Ganges and hearing transcendental activities of the Lord. During all days he heard Bhagavatam. He did not take food or drink, nor did he sleep at moment. So everything about him is wonderful, and his activities are worth hearing attentively. The desire is expressed herein to hear about the detail. So they want, why the question is, why are Saunaka Rishis asking these questions? What is the significance between, because it significant because it is already known. They want to know it in detail. That is the thing. They may be knowing, like now we may say, okay, I know the story of Govardhan Puja, or I know the story of Kalya Leela, or I can say I know the story of Vritrasur. But again, on the day of Gaur Purnima, sorry, again Govardhan Puja, we can sit and 2 hours the lecture is given on Govardhan Puja. That means they can explain much finer details. So that's why they wanted to know. Okay, they may know a little bit, but they don't know much details and insights they want to know. And here, when Sutta Goswami is telling, that is what will happen, they will directly get that experience, they get that realization there. And maybe some of them don't know. On behalf of them also, Sonaka is maybe asking. That possibility also is there, that if he knows, somebody may be not knowing, so he's representing. And no matter how many times they hear, they feel it very happy and satisfied. So we are discussing so many days. Prabhupada is telling the same things, but still we are very happy to be with Prabhupada every day in the morning, 1 hour. It's a great privilege to read Bhagavatam every day in the morning. Like Today I am just reading purports. Tomorrow I'll spend because if one day I read purports more, then next day I'll get the privilege to elaborate some important points, which I feel will be very helpful. Tomorrow I'll share some important points. Today we'll just complete reading purports more. We will take one, two more, and then we'll end. He was a great emperor and possessed all the opulences of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of the Ganges and fast until death? Purport. Maharaj Parikshit was emperor of the world and all the seas and oceans and of all seas, and he did not have to take the trouble to acquire such a kingdom. His own. He already got inherited. And he inherited it from his grandfather's Maharaj sister and brothers. Besides that, he was doing well in the administration and was worthy of good name of his forefathers. Consequently, there is nothing undesirable in his opulence and administration. Then, then why should he give up all other favorable circumstances, sit down on the bank of the Ganges fasting till death? This is astonishing, and therefore all the sages are eager to know the cause. So, some people may not know, that's why. And another point here, we understand that Parikshit Maharaj was able to keep the prestige of the Pandavas. And Kshatriya, the suicide is considered very sinful, and only in two cases a person can commit suicide. One, when the husband dies, the wife goes into sati. That is, even though it is suicide, but it is not considered sinful. And another is when in such situations, if, when the Kshatriyas do something very wrong, then they do fasting till death. Only two circumstances, otherwise not. He was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. He was full of youth and strength, and he possessed kingly opulences that were difficult to give up. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life? So, why he is trying to commit suicide in one way? There was nothing undesirable in his life. He was quite young man and could enjoy life with power and opulence. So there was no question of retiring from active life. Parashit was 60 years old that time, but that was 60 years still young only because that time people are staying for long also, and otherwise also he is having full capacity. That's why they're asking, "Arey, why he quit very young age?" It is not. Uh, that is also a curiosity for. There's no difficulty in collecting the state taxes because he was so powerful and chivalrous that even his enemies would come to him and bow down at his feet and surrender all wealth for their own benefit. Maharaj Parikshit was a pious king. He conquered his enemies, and therefore the kingdom was full of prosperity. There was enough milk, grains, and nettles, and all these rivers and mountains were full of potency. So materially, everything was satisfactory. Therefore, there should there was no question of ultimately giving up his kingdom and life. The sages were eager to hear about all this. So we'll end here today, and I will share some things tomorrow.